welcome back to Board Game Breakfast. Didn't have it last week because we were at the Dice Tower Convention, and that kept us so busy that this show should actually probably be called Board Game Late Night Snack. But we are getting it out to you, and we have a lot of things to go over. First of all, I can't believe 2 weeks ago we didn't announce the winners of the contest that we have for 2 of the Marvel Dice Master playmats, and to guess some of the characters or different things that are coming out in the Uncanny X-Men set. So here's the picture I showed you. Let me tell you what each of these dice are. We'll start and we'll go from left to right and top down. We have Magneto, we have Ant-Man or Henry Pym, Cyclops, Kitty Pryde, one of my favorite characters in the whole series, Sabretooth, Vision, X-23, Cerebro, Black Panther, Magic, Apocalypse, I can't, anyway, Red Hulk, that's kind of cool, Storm, Professor X, and She-Hulk. Many people guessed these correctly and went through and picked a random winner, and that winner is Katie Hare. Katie, you need to contact me as soon as possible. This time email me at tomvasel@gmail.com, and we get those prizes out to you. The second thing I want to announce is that we're very close to getting all the stuff out to our Dice Tower Kickstarter. We're just still waiting on some of the play mats that have been held up by customs forever. But anyhow, once those get in, we'll ship them out. But I went and looked at the stuff that we had from the 2013 Kickstarter, and I found that we have quite a few leftover dice towers from that. We have blue and white dice towers. We have red and blue, red and black, green and white dice towers. And if you're interested in one of those, I want to kind of get rid of them. So if you would like to donate to the Dice Tower for $20, $25 overseas because of the extra shipping, let me know. Email me at tomvasel@gmail.com and say I'd like to get one of these towers. And I'll tell you what colors we have left at that point because there's only limited quantities left. These say 2013 on them. Once these are gone, there will never be another 2013 Dice Tower. Okay, on to some big news. Then before we get to the actual news, I want to talk about DicetowerNews.com. Now, this is something we've been working on for several months, and we have launched it this past week. We launched it in the middle of the Dice Tower Convention. DicetowerNews.com used to point to our thrice-a-week podcast that three great guys, Elliot Miller and Joseph Barber and Paul Owen, they put out this 5 to 10 minute podcast Monday, Wednesday, Friday about the news. Great. And you can still get that if you go to DicetowerNews.com. But now we also have a couple extra things. We have articles that are being put up by Joseph and Robert. So we're trying to get out all the best board game news out there that you can find. And you can go there and you can sign up for a mailing list. And I want you to keep checking it out because we're going to have some contests there. So keep checking that out. Sign up for the mailing list. We're doing this in conjunction with Cool Stuff Inc. And so I'm very excited about this. There's also a calendar of events there that we're slowly filling in and adding in different events to that calendar. If you'd like to be involved, help us find news, post news to the site, work on the calendar, I'd love to hear from you. Email me, and you can be involved there. So many great things, but now let's get to the actual news. The news, the biggest thing, or I like it to be the biggest thing, is the Dice Tower Awards. Now, I'm actually posting a show. We did a live presentation of Dice Tower Awards at the Dice Tower Convention last week, and we'll be posting that tomorrow. And maybe we'll even put up a video of that this week. So I don't want to repeat myself here. I'm just going to say that the Game of the Year category went to Caverna the Cave Farmers, a great game, and there's a whole list of other slates. So you can listen to our podcast, or you can go right to our website, Dicetower.com, or Dice Tower News, actually, and see a list of all the winners. In other news, Pandemic Legacy was announced. We already knew this was kind of coming, but Z-Man has now made it official. Rob Daviau, the author of Risk Legacy, and Matt Leacock, the author of Pandemic, are working together. We don't know anything else about it. We don't know a release date, but we do know that it's exciting. It's going to be a game where you try to save the world from viruses, and each game that you play will permanently affect future games. It's a phenomenal concept. I'm very excited to see it. Fantasy Flight has posted the rules for their Foul Play expansion for Blood Bowl Team Manager Online. Z-Man has also announced Voyage of the Beagle, which is an expansion for Robinson Crusoe, in which you are crew members on a ship with Charles Darwin. That ship, I guess it crashes. I don't know, but it's Robinson Crusoe is such a great cooperative game. It's good to see a good expansion for that coming out. Cones of Dunshire. You hear that? This was on the TV show. Parks and Recreation was a silly game making fun of gamers in general, or obsessed gamers in general. But Mayfair Games has decided to make this an event. Will be at Gen Con this year. It's like a charity event. You can play in this game or be involved in that. You can find out more information at the Mayfair Games website. Tasty Minstrel is going to be publishing Aquasphere, which is about building this underwater research facility. Sounds fantastic until I saw it was designed by Stefan Feld. Still might be fantastic. He has designed some quite good games, although I always fear that his theme doesn't match the mechanisms, and this theme is such a cool one. Well, we'll have to wait and see. They've also announced they're going to be doing a Bomb Squad, which is a cooperative game. I don't know much more about it, except I can see the art looks very similar to that from Police Precinct and the other cooperative games. This will be going to Kickstarter in August. A new expansion for Kemet, Tassetti. This is going to add a fourth color, black, to the set. And as far as I can tell, since you only have spots for 3 pyramids, they already have the red, white, and blue, you'll take one of those colors out and replace it with black if you so desire. So that adds a lot of cool possibilities to this game and adds more stuff to the game. So that's it for the news. Let's check out Kickstarter.
Hey now, my name is Nick from Board Game Brawl, and this is your Kickstarter update. And you know, a lot of people weren't happy with how negative my last Kickstarter update was, but the truth is, folks, I love Kickstarter. And when I see project creators doing something that seems shady to me, I'm not going to be quiet about it. But, okay, in order to make up for that last update, let's talk about 4 projects that I am very positive about. Zombicide is back on Kickstarter with Season 3, which consists of the big box standalone game Rue Morgue and the smaller expansion Angry Neighbors, and of course tons of extra exclusive minis that you can get as part of the campaign. Now, a lot of people don't like CMON. They question why they're still using Kickstarter at all, and there's a lot of long delays with some of their games. And I personally don't like that some of the stretch goals are things that are necessary for other stretch goals, like here's a Murder of Crows mini. Next stretch goal, here's cards so that you can actually use them in the game. So that's a little weird, but honestly, I love Zombicide. I love a lot of CMON's other projects, and they run really tight, efficient campaigns that don't harass you and that I think are really well put together. So definitely something to consider checking out if you haven't been into Zombicide before. Artipia Games is back on Kickstarter with New Dawn, which is a thematic sequel to Among the Stars, their 7 Wonders-ish drafting game that's becoming really popular, especially this year. And this is more of a board game than that game is, where you each take control of galactic officials trying to rebuild a destroyed part of the galaxy. They did something really cool here in the beginning of the campaign where people were complaining about how high the price of the game itself is on that pledge tier, and they actually lowered it and made a new pledge tier, which I think was pretty outstanding of them. Now, I think I like the next project I'm going to talk about just because of the artwork and theme alone. This is Ants, the board game from designer Steven Zoe, and this is just you taking control of anthropomorphic chibi ants trying to build the greatest ant kingdom ever. It just looks weird and off the wall, and I don't know. I just like the theme. I'm going to have to look into it more because I really hope the gameplay itself holds up to what the theme is. But the final game I want to talk about this week is the winner for Best Theme, in my opinion, and that's Antidote from Bellwether Games. This is a party deduction-style game where the players have been involved in a laboratory accident that's infected them with an illness, and they have to try and find the cure. You're going to do this by hand management, wheeling and dealing, negotiating, passing cards around, in order to make sure that the last card that you have is the actual antidote, hence the name. I think this is definitely something to keep your eye on if you like party deduction-style games like I do. So, my name is Nick from Board Game Brawl. This has been your overwhelmingly positive Kickstarter update, and I'm reminding you to get out there and game every day and in every way. Take care.
It's summer, which means games are being released. Memoir 44 D-Day Landing has come out, which is to commemorate the 10th edition. 10 years that Memoir has been out. Many new maps. Bedpans and Broomsticks, which is designed by the same guy who did Nuns in a Run, and Ninja, another hidden game where some people are running from, some old folks are trying to get out of the home, and one player plays the nurses and the doctor trying to keep them in their beds. That's from Mayfair Games. That came out. Let's see, we have Legendary Marvel, the villain set. I reviewed it last, or 2 weeks ago. Great expansion. Ogre Pocket Edition, very cheap version of Ogre, not the $200 version. This one just comes in an envelope. Star Trek Attack Wing released a little earlier than they had planned to. 3 new ships, including the redone USS Enterprise and Lore. Hooray. Mage Wars Forged in Fire expansion was released. Heroes of Normandy, I reviewed that 2 weeks ago. Really cool, like miniatures in a box game. And a U.S. version of Quicks. Many other games were released at Cool Stuff Inc. What I can tell is coming out this week. I don't know so much, but I do know that Zuluredo is going to be released. And so I'm looking forward to that. And the 9th expansion, I guess the 9th official expansion, because there's tons of small ones, for a Carcassonne called Hills and Sheep. All right, let's continue on.
Hi there, everyone. This is Scott Nicholson, and welcome to the Ivory Dice Tower. I'm a professor at Syracuse University, and I'm taking a look at games and moving into talking about game design, actually. Over the next series of segments, I'm going to be talking a little bit about game design. I teach a class on applied game design, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how I encourage students to think about getting started with game design. So we're going to start with game design in general, and then we'll move into applied game design after that. And what you're getting in these little 3-minute segments are really little mini lectures, little snippets of the sort of stuff that I do in my college classes. So hooray, you don't have to pay tuition for it. Yay! So with making a game, how do you start? What's the first thing you should think about? Now I want to preface this by saying, if your desire is to actually sell your game to someone, if your goal is to license your game or to sell your game, then I would argue the first thing you want to think about is who is the game for. Many people make the mistake when they make a game that they make a game for themselves. I want to make a game that I want to play. Well, that's fine. You'll have an audience of you, and probably your mom, and that guy down the road that buys all the new stuff anyway. But you're going to find that it may be hard for you to actually sell and market your game design. So the first thing you want to think about is, who am I making this game for? What's the audience that I'm creating this game for, and how can I make this the best game possible for that audience? Now that audience might include you, but it might not as well. And in line with thinking about the audience, you want to think about the publisher. Where are you going to take this game to get it published? Where do you want to find someone who's willing to take the risk and offer you a royalty or offer you money to actually publish your game? The publisher, when they're looking at your game, they're looking to see, how can I bring this game into a line of games that I'm offering? Because the publisher already has a series of folks, a set of folks that are interested in their games. That's what the publishers do, is they reach out to an audience. They have these connections already. And they're going to look to see, how can I sell your game to the people that have bought all these other games? And so because of that, that first step you want to take when you're doing game design is you want to think about, who is this game for? Because it's not going to be you. In my applied game design class, I have the students think of an organization that they're making the game for. Because when you're doing applied game design, many times you're being hired by someone to make a game. And there again, you think about that audience. And you think about something else too, the goal of the game, the learning outcome of the game, why you're actually putting it together. But we'll talk about that a little bit later after I present the model. So think about the audience. Think about the who. Is it for families? Is it for gamers? Is it for kids? Who is going to be playing this game? Because that is going to actually set constraints on everything else you do. If you don't think about the audience until it's too late, you may find yourself with a game that is hard to pitch, that's hard to sell to a publisher. But if you start with the publisher, you start with the audience in mind, you'll find down the road when it comes time to have those discussions about who might want to actually buy your game, they're going to be a lot easier to have. And your goal should be to make the best game possible for that audience. Since there are so many games out there, you can't make something that's just lukewarm that everyone wants to play, because it's going to end up just being uninteresting. Instead, you want to say, for this audience, what's the best game I can make? What do you do next? Well, we'll talk about that in the next episodes of the Ivory Dice Tower. Bye-bye.
Okay, folks, we didn't put up much last week, and I apologize. I said we were taking vacation, but we kind of did work at the convention, so maybe we did take vacation, but no time for rest. We got reviews. I can guarantee you there's going to be 20 plus reviews this week. We just have piles of them for you, and so I'm very excited to show you guys that. But we also have some videos that were taken in conjunction with cool stuff at the convention, and we did a couple top 10 lists. The top 10 list that we're going to post this week is our top 10 essentials for a gaming store. You want to own a gaming store? Then you better listen to us in this video. Or at least we think so. And also our podcast, I said, will be the Dice Tower Awards. That's going up tomorrow. And plenty of other podcasts that you can find in the DicetowerNetwork.com, including, of course, the 3 little podcasts from Dice Tower News. Lots of content coming for you this week. And there might even be some other things, too. And we're getting closer and closer to those top 100 lists. Anyhow, let's get to some more Board Game Breakfast.
Hi, Suzanne here with this week's featured board game app. When people in the board gaming world hear the name Uwe Rosenberg, they often think of Agricola, but I think of Le Havre. The harbor theme game definitely sits on the heavier side of Euros, and because it's a Rosenberg, you know there's going to be people, and you're going to have to feed them. In Le Havre, you vie to become a titan of the shipping industry by gathering your goods, securing necessary buildings, and finally building your ships. Make sure to keep an eye on your resources lest you have to take a loan to feed your people. The developer, Codito, isn't as well known as Playdeck, but they also have a record of bringing high-quality ports to board games. Le Havre is feature-rich with 4 different levels of AI, multiple save games, and online play through Game Center. You also have the option to play a short game without the special buildings or a long game that includes them, which expands the replayability nicely. The app game design stays true to the physical game, making some necessary concessions for the volume of information the game presents. That said, they put it all out there on the screen, meaning things can look fairly busy and compressed. But you also don't have to fiddle with a bunch of flyouts to see inventory and buildings. Through a tap here and a tap there, it's easy to get more information on any card without leaving the game. The Le Havre app is a great way to learn the game. Along with a thorough tutorial, it also has a hints button. For newbies stuck on the vastness of options each turn, this is a great aid in propelling the game forward. There's also an undo button, which is a surprisingly uncommon feature in board game apps. There are in-game messages throughout that are thankfully optional, and a full game log to help you keep track of everything that has happened. The Le Havre app is a great implementation that I think experienced players will really enjoy. But it's also a great teaching tool for new players. So if Le Havre is already a favorite, or on your wish list of games in real life, give it a try.
Let's play Apples to Apples for Perverts. Apples to Apples for Perverts.
Said the king, man, it's a funny thing. We don't like how you've led, so we gotta take your head. I've always been a gentleman, you see, but what must be, must be. It's a cruel necessity. The king said in reply, man, I don't wanna die. Cromwell shrugged and said, well, I'd rather you were dead. I've always been a gentleman, you see, but what must be, must be. It's a cruel necessity. Oh, we are all supermen sitting in Parliament chanting for King Charles' head. If it were up to me, you'd still be dead, you see. From you we long to be free. It's a cruel necessity.
Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise here. It's been an exciting couple of weeks since last we met. There was the Dice Tower convention in Orlando, which I wasn't able to attend, but also the GTS Come and Play Day in Seattle, which I was. And I'll be sharing information about some of the upcoming games that I saw at the GTS Come and Play Day in an upcoming episode. But first, I wanted to use my time here today to do something a little bit different. If you follow Pair of Dice Paradise, you may know already that I've posted several videos about the GTS trade show on the Pair of Dice Paradise YouTube channel. But what you may not know is that I've hidden a contest somewhere in those videos. Yes, somewhere in the dozen or so videos in the GTS playlist are instructions on how to enter for a chance to win one or both of these Marvel Dice Masters super rare character cards, Black Widow Serena and Green Goblin Gobby. Well, the Dice Tower and its fans have been so encouraging to Pair of Dice Paradise that I wanted to give you, the Board Game Breakfast viewers, a special exclusive clue. Psst! The specific video that the contest is hidden in is the GTS Come and Play Day 2014 introduction video. But shh! Being secret is neat. By no means should you share this information with everyone you know and on all the social media sites and blogs that you read and dinner parties that you attend. But for the love of Lang, hurry! This slightly less hidden contest ends on Friday, June 11th, 2014 at 10 o'clock p.m. Pacific Time. Put this Board Game Breakfast exclusive secret clue to good use and enter right now. Time's a-tickin'. Good luck, and a sincere thanks to all the fans that have been supporting Pair of Dice Paradise on its channel and through the Dice Tower. You guys rock.
Alright folks, today I'm not going to rant about anything, I'm just going to kind of rave about something, and that is the Dice Tower Convention 3. Now, a quick preview, overview of the convention. Dice Tower, this is the third one that we did, and we do them in Orlando, Florida. Several years ago, I was interested in starting some sort of small convention, and I found a gentleman, Patrick Havert, his name is, who was also starting a convention, and I said, why don't we join forces? And by join forces, I kind of brought the name, and he did all the work. Patrick does an amazing job. He and his wife and an army of volunteers put together a convention. We had 300 people the first year, and then last year, I believe we had 600. This year, we went up to about 850. Next year, we'll go to 1,000, and then the year after that, we're hoping to go even bigger than that, and I'm very excited to see where it will go. But this is a great convention, and this year, it is my favorite convention. If I could only pick one convention to go to, this would be it. And there was one key word to this convention, and that is friendly. Everybody was friendly. Sure, there was some cool things. I will put up the Dice Tower Convention Library against any other library in the world. I'm not kidding on that. There are bigger libraries, but this one is the best. Every game in it is a useful, fun game. Well, for somebody, but there's not piles and piles of old, out-of-print games that no one's going to play. They're just all great new releases, and it's just so cool, and it was so easy to check them out. You showed your badge, scan it, boom, boom, game out. So there was the resort that we stayed at, such a wonderful place. There was 3 different swimming pools, and right next to SeaWorld. That was super, super fun to be there at the hotel. There was lots of different people, designers. Richard Launius came and taught his games, and Robert Burke was there with his games. Arcane Wonders came. We were demoing the Sheriff of Nottingham, first of Dice Tower Essentials, the whole time. There was GMT came. There was several other the Meeple Source with the custom meeples were there, and then Cool Stuff was there. Not just selling all their games for cool stuff prices, but they were also had a ding and dent section where they games that had minor bruises and bumps, and they were selling those for extremely low prices. In fact, that area was crowded the entire convention with people getting cheap games. And Cool Stuff even had a thing where you could get a box from them, and I think it was like $17, fill that box and ship it home. And you could put stuff in it that wasn't even Cool Stuff games. That was cool. And we had some really cool events. We did, well, I don't know if we ran them, so I don't know if they were cool. We did the live top 10s, which you'll see one this week and one in a couple weeks. We did a live show where we did the Dice Tower Awards. Eric and I ran 2 Wits and Wagers games, and then the stupidest game show on earth, Dice Tower game. There was a prototype session. There was a game designers panel. There was lots of different tournaments. I saw an X-Wing tournament. I saw 3 games of Twilight Imperium 3 being played at the same time next to a game of Fortress America. Carabande was running the whole convention. There was, and there was just gaming everywhere. Tons of open gaming. You could game till the cows came home, and people did. Werewolf went night to night. The library never closed, so there was still. I would come in at like 7 in the morning, and there would be people gaming. It was just craziness. But that's not what makes this convention good. What makes this convention good is it is the most family-friendly and emphasis on friendly convention I've ever been to. There were tons of people there. Well, 800, and I guess that's not tons, but lots of people that were there. And it was such a great mix. People who this was their first convention ever to people who've been to many 20 conventions. There were people who played war games and people who played heavy Euro games and people who played Amerithrash games. There was just all that was all over the place. And there was tons of females there, which is used to be a rarity at conventions, but now there was couples and families. We had a kids room. I was just so excited to go around, and everybody was overly friendly and nice. And I mean, I spent so much of the convention just talking to people and having a good time with folks. And so I recommend this convention highly. And you say, well, Vasel, of course you recommend it. It's your convention. Well, it's kind of my convention in the sense that I put my name on it. I don't make any money from the convention. I don't put the majority of the work in. Patrick does that, and he does a phenomenal job at it. This coming year, next year, we're going to be running another convention, Dice Tower 4th convention. We'll be opening the registration for that in probably September of this year. It sold out this year, and many people were sad that they could not come. Don't miss out. Sign up for it when it goes online because we would love to see you there. Orlando's a great place to take a family and do something before or after the convention or even during the convention. Go out to Disney World during the day, come back and play games at night. And many people did things like that. It was full. It was bigger than last year, but it never felt overly crowded. And I met, there were so many friends, so many people from the last years, so many of the Dice Tower staff were there, and we just had a great time. It was wonderful and phenomenal, and if you were there, then I thank you for coming. We had a great time. If you weren't there, don't feel sad. You can come next year. And there will be other great conventions over the course of the year, and I know not everybody can make it, and hopefully you can make it to some convention I'll meet you at, but man alive, this one was absolutely fantastic. So big thanks from me to everybody who came and was involved with that. Oh, and there was an auction there. We did a live auction for the Jack Vasel Memorial Fund that raised $7,750. Just unbelievable. The stuff that was auctioned and the stuff that people paid for the stuff that was auctioned, and it was really fun too. And then we raised another almost $1,700 or $1,800 through raffle tickets. So, wow! I take off my Dice Tower hat, put on the Jack Vasel Memorial Fund hat. Huge thank you. There are people who need this money, who we can help, and that was phenomenal. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Had a superb time. I'm counting down the days till next year already. All right, let's continue on with this show, though.
Hello again, Internet. Wayne here with more Ask Snakes questions. Yeah, I can't believe I still have this job. So Rick wants to know, what themes are underrepresented in the gaming world? There are lots of popular themes, pirates, zombies, you know, that stuff, but not a lot of games about wedding planning, or executing prisoners, or puppets. Oh, we've talked about that before. Seriously though, I think computer hacking. Why aren't there more games about that? You know, I mean, it's a pretty cool concept, lots of movies, but not too many games. I mean, there's Steve Jackson's Hackers, and there's Netrunner, of course, very cool, but that's about it. And, you know, while we're on this sort of crazy computer conspiracy stuff, Illuminati's just about the only game out there designed for the tinfoil hat crowd, so there you go. Hacking and conspiracies not properly represented. Okay, next question. Kevin from Toronto, ooh, local caller, yay, asks how we decide what games to open for the library. So, when we first opened, every single game we had was in our library, but now we have about 3 times as many games and not 3 times as much space. So, it's a bit of a complicated procedure. It involves wizardry and chicken entrails, but I'm going to throw up a Venn diagram on the screen here to kind of help demystify the whole thing. So as you can see, not too long, not too big, easy to teach, and it has buzz. So, there you go. Thanks for the questions. Remember, ask Snakes at snakesandlattes.com. Send us your questions, and I will answer them in a funny voice.
Whew. I feel like I'm announcing so many big things this show, like the Dice Tower News and the Dice Tower Awards, and you can get Dice Towers and the contest and Dice Tower Convention. But we are now on what I call Road to Gen Con. For this week and the next four board game breakfasts, we're going to be looking forward to Gen Con. We're going to be doing Gen Con video previews because at Gen Con, many new games are going to be released. A flood of them. Which ones are good, which ones are bad? Well, hopefully you can watch our channel and we'll tell you a bit about that. I might even do a live show later this week. I'm not quite sure on that. If not, I'll do one next week where I'll answer questions about whatever you may want. Until then, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff, in stock, at CoolStuffInc.com.